isn't scary. You scared of him?
Yeah, no.
I ain't scared of him. What, am I supposed to freak out as a guy a glove now? Ooh, a glove. I'm shaking in my super soldier pod. Sorry. Let me back up a minute and try and explain myself a little bit more clearly. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is a massive achievement in filmmaking. It turned obscure comic book heroes into household names, created a sprawling shared continuity, and earned insane amounts of money. The MCU's impact on media is so profound that now cinematic universes are cropping up all over the place.
This is how things are now.
But there's one thing the MCU does wrong, it has got to be their villains. People have complained about the quality of Marvel's villains ever since The Incredible Hulk. The second movie in the franchise... franchise? Can I call it a franchise if it's a cinematic universe? In general, the Marvel villains seem to be pretty generic, forgettable, irrational, or any combination of the three. And you know what? I get it, because in a massive movieverse, you want to keep the focus on the main characters. They're the ones that audiences are going to stay with for years to come, and so the writers want to spend a lot of time developing them. That way, when they all come together for an ensemble movie, the audience knows who they are right away, and they don't have to spend time establishing them. That's really hard to pull off, and if not done right, it could tank the whole movie. Looking at you, Suicide Squad.
This is Katana.
That's why people care so much about the Avengers and couldn't care less about the villain of the week, whose only character traits are me big evil man in robot suit. Seriously, why can that apply to like 5 Marvel villains? And that focus on the recurring characters is the cause for a lot of bad villains. But it's also the reason that we have the good ones, and by good ones I mean these two, Loki and the Winter Soldier. Oh, but Sam, the Winter Soldier just got brainwashed and forced to do those things. He isn't a bad guy. Yeah, tell that to the guy he just punted into a jet turbine. But the point still stands. The reason that these two are written so much better than the majority of MCU baddies is because they get to keep appearing in stories past the ones they were introduced in. These two are fleshed out characters because they have a significant amount of screen time allotted to them. And because they appear in multiple films, they're allowed to be dynamic characters with interesting stories. And that brings us to Thanos, the guy who has appeared in multiple Marvel movies and is ultimately going to be the big bad of the entire cinematic universe up to this point. Infinity War is scheduled to come out next year in 2018. The movie where Thanos will finally step in and be the nemesis of every Marvel hero. So why, in the name of Odin's beard, isn't he the least bit scary? To those of you about to say something along the lines of, well, actually, if you'd read the comics, you would know Thanos gets an Infinity Stones and becomes the all-powerful blah 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 blah. To you, I say, come here, come here. We're not reading the comics, we're watching the movies. We gotta be honest about this. The vast majority of MCU fans don't read the comics. They watch the movies, and that means they only have what they know from the movies to go off of. If you want a villain to be intimidating, you need to make them intimidating in your movies. There could be dozens of well-written Thanos stories where he's incredibly scary, hyper-intimidating, and all-powerful. But none of that has been seen on screen. In fact, the opposite is what we've seen. So instead of being this scary guy that I'm afraid of showing up in the next movie, I think he's gonna be a pushover, like he has been in everything that we've seen. Oh, I'm sorry, you want examples? Let me give you some examples. Let's go back to the Avengers. All of our heroes have been set up in movies leading up to this one. Loki was back after being one of the best villains in Marvel up to this point, and now he had a cool staff and could control minds, and also there was an alien army he was gonna control, and we find out at the end that it was all from Thanos. He gets the staff, which has an Infinity Stone in it, by the way. He gets the Chitauri army, which served Thanos, and Thanos made a deal with him that he's gonna take over Earth for Loki as long as Loki gets the Infinity Stone for Thanos. However, it doesn't work. And there's two parts to this. Two parts to Thanos' failure against the Avengers that really should be addressed. One is that Thanos lost his army. They all went down Phantom Menace style, like Tony Stark launched a nuke at their battle station, mothership, whatever that was, and they all just conked out, died, done. The Chitauri are gone. Thanos does not have a standing army anymore. So, hey, what a tyrant, right? The second and more important part is that Thanos lost the only Infinity Stone he had. Yeah, that staff of Loki's has the Mind Gem in it. The Mind Gem that's now in Vision's forehead. And I know Thanos gave him that staff because do you really think this is the look of a guy who knew what his staff could do? No, at the beginning of the Avengers, Loki was just handed that thing. Thanos was like, here, be careful with this. And then bam, off to Earth he goes. But you know what? That's just one example, right? Yeah. Thanos, he had an invasion plan, he lost his one Infinity Stone, but hey, it's all fine, right? It's not like he's gonna make the same mistake twice. Oh wait, he did! In Guardians of the Galaxy, he basically makes the exact same plan with Ronan the Accuser. Ronan wants to destroy the Nova Corps, and so if Ronan gets Thanos an Infinity Stone, Thanos promises that he will destroy the Nova Corps for him. Gee, does any of this sound familiar? What's even better though, is that this time, as soon as Ronan gets the Infinity Stone, he straight up betrays Thanos. Thanos, the guy who's supposed to be all powerful and all scary. Ronan just says, hey, screw you, bye, I'm taking this. This is my Infinity Stone now. So that's 0 for 2 on the amount of times that Thanos has let someone else get an Infinity Stone for him, and it's made him lose all the Infinity Stones he could have had. So Thanos isn't that great at planning, sure, but you know what's even worse? The fact that he doesn't inspire any kind of intimidation in his own followers. Anytime that we have seen someone betray or fail Thanos, nothing bad happens to him. Thanos doesn't show up and like melt their brains or just like rip their head off or just punch them really hard. No, nothing happens to him. Loki goes to Asgard jail. Thanos doesn't send anything after Ronan. Ronan just kind of gets beat by the Guardians. Nova and Gamora both betray him and they're just fine. Thanos isn't going after him. How's he gonna make the heroes afraid of him if he doesn't even make the guys who follow him afraid? To give you an example of what I mean, let's look at another movie villain. Let's look at a movie villain that actually is feared by his soldiers. Darth Vader. Darth Vader is a villain that when anyone fails him, immediately chokes the life out of them. He doesn't have to be in the same room as you. He can just choke you over Skype chat. And as soon as you're dead, it doesn't matter. He points to the next guy and says, you have his job now. Don't mess up or I'm doing that same thing to you. When someone fails Thanos, he's like, alright, I'm gonna sit on my throne. I like floating. Now let's say that you work for one of them and you messed up big time on one of your missions. Who would you rather work for? See what I mean? So Thanos' plans fail, and none of the people that work for him are afraid of him. But now we, the audience, are supposed to be afraid of him because we see an after-credits sequence where he puts on the empty Infinity Gauntlet. And the comic books tell us that he's gonna get all the Infinity Stones, all these powerful things that we've seen in multiple movies. He's gonna control reality, space, time, power, the soul, everything in the palm of his hand. And sure, that's a scary, intimidating plan. But Thanos himself isn't scary. When characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe keep appearing, you get to know who they are, you get to see them do cool things and establish what they're all about. With the Winter Soldier, you see him go on missions both before and after the brainwashing. You see he's pretty confident in what he does, and he's actually pretty scary when it comes to a fight. With Loki, you see him pull off a lot of illusions, tricks, and carry out his own dastardly plans. So you know that he's smart, you know he's cunning, and you know that he's ambitious. With Thanos, every time that we've seen him, he's just kind of been smiling after he lost a fight, he gets talked down to by his own underlings, or he just looks annoyed and he never gets off of his throne. He might very well be the most powerful villain that Marvel has. I don't care. I'm not afraid, I'm not intimidated, and I don't think that any of the Marvel heroes are gonna die yet. Well, except for Vision, because that's kind of his brain, and he's kind of doomed because Thanos needs the mind gem. And the real tragedy of all this is that Marvel had a chance. They had a massive chance. They've had years and years of chances. In a cinematic universe where almost all the villains are forgettable, where almost none of them stand out or are intimidating, Marvel has been trying to make audiences intimidated by the promise of Thanos appearing. This is how you don't write a villain. You cannot generate hype for your franchise based solely off of comic books that most of the audience has not read. I should not have to go do homework in order to understand your movie. Think of other great intimidating villains. The Fire Lord from Avatar was only ever seen in shadow and flames until the final season. The Emperor was the guy that Darth Vader bowed to. And you saw Darth Vader kill his own people, basically for fun. We're given a glimpse of Sauron at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and we see him decimating armies, so we know that if he comes back, that happens again. Villains whose power and influence are shown are villains that audiences fear, and that's what makes the payoff of them finally showing up and enacting their master plans so satisfying. We know the challenge that our heroes will go up against, and we wonder for so long how they'll surmount it. That way when it finally happens, we've been there to see how it all ended. With Thanos, well, I've already forgotten.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video about the Avengers. Cannot wait for the copyright strikes from Marvel. If you like this and want to see more, you can click right here on the screen to see some of these video links I'm putting up. And if you really want to make me happy or listen to me talk some more, you can click the subscribe button. And now I'm out of here because I spent way too much time on this video. Alright guys, love you. Bye.